Hello, beautiful people. We have all been there. We've all had this awakened state. If you're on this video, you've had an awakened state, right? You've had this moment of clarity, of awake, of broader perspective. How do we stay there? A lot of times we say, yes, I went through my awakening. Really, guys, having an awakening is just the first piece to the next awakening. And that piece is the next piece to the next awakening, to the next awakening, to the next awakening. And ascension is the same way. It's not like just we ascend. It's a process of ascending, ascending, ascending. And it all has to do with perspectives and vibration. So how many times have we had this moment where we wake up and we feel really awake, like spiritually? We've been to a yoga class, or we've been to a retreat, or we've had a training, or we've had Shaktipa, or, we've just had a spontaneous awakening, or we've been around an enlightened master and we've had this moment. So whatever it is, you've had this awakened moment. Now, how do we sustain it? How do we stay awake so that we can get to the next awakening? I really love the analogy of flying in an airplane. Flying in an airplane when it's cloudy out. So you take off, it's cloudy, it's a dreary day. You're like, oh, awful day to fly, right? And you go up and you go up and you reach 30,000 feet, and what happens? The sun is shining up there. All you had to do was get a broader perspective. The sun is always shining. And then we have the clouds, right? So this analogy is we are always shining. Our authentic God spark, that's always there. It's always shining. But it's those thoughts, feelings, beliefs, emotions, contracts, density, the clouds, if you will, of our human experience that kind of goes over our heart light, our God spark, right? But the cool part is, guys, it's always shining. I love this because it's not like we have to ignite it again. It's not like we have to get it shining and stuff like that. The work is just dissipating the clouds or just knowing that you're shining. So how do we stay in an awakened state? We go to a place where we have a broader perspective. So just knowing that you are shining all the time, just like the sun is shining all the time, regardless of clouds, regardless of old programming, vibrational programming. So everything is a vibration. Every thought, every emotion, every belief system, every discipline, every way you've been disciplined by your parents, everything that a teacher or said to you or that a bully put you through, all of that is a frequency. It's a frequency cloud, if you will. And all of that can be shifted with frequency. So the frequency of a different thought actually can change the frequency of the thought that's clouding you up. So when we think of this idea that we are always shining, maybe going into a visualization that you're shining so bright that you could, that shining bright is a very high frequency. So it's kind of just a little game you can play with yourself. If this is shining really bright and this is a really high frequency, and these are more dense, lower frequencies, who do you want to win out, right? It's called entrainment. So in sound therapy and sound healing, there's a word called entrainment. And basically what we do is it's a vibrational attunement. So if someone's has depression, say, that's a certain frequency, and you work with sound healing and sound therapy with a higher frequency. So you play a certain music or a certain tone and entrain the depressed person to this frequency, and their vibration rises. So that's entrainment. So you can do that with yourself, because if you really tune in, take a moment of silence, go climb a tree, go be in the sunset, whatever it is that gets you kind of just, like out of your head, and place your hands on your heart and tune in to that God spark. That part of you that is high vibing all the time, always shining. Tune into that part. Let's do it right now. And basically think about just a dial on your radio in your car. You're just going to go to that station. Go to the station of you that's high vibing. Okay? And think about the clouds. You can even name those clouds, childhood trauma, relationship trauma, lack of trust, belief and lack, whatever it is. Those are your clouds, right? And just ask, hey, let's entrain to this vibration. Okay. Now, I love doing this with sound. I just tune into my heart space, that high vibration of myself, and I make a tone. That. Okay. And as I'm toning there, I just, focus for a moment on the clouds, and then I basically say, hey, come on over here. And I just tune myself. So a really potent way to stay in awakened state is to tune yourself every day to your highest vibration. Now, your highest vibration is going to shift because, as I said, there's awakening on top of awakening on top of awakening. There's ascension on top of ascension on top of ascension. So if you hear someone say, oh, and I've had my awakening moment back in my 20s, or had my awakening moment, guys, maybe stay a little leery of those people, because guess what? They have not arrived. We never arrive. We are ever expanding, okay? So yes, you may have had an awakening experience, but you still are in the process of awakening. You still are in the process of ascending. And even ascended masters, like someone that I look up to and I study their content sometimes, is this a man named Sat Shri. He's supposedly an enlightened being, yet he still sits in meditation. He still does his work. He still looks at the clouds. He still shines his light. He's still entraining himself to his highest, to his highest, to his highest. So how do you stay in an awakened state? One, know that it's ever expanding, and that your awakened state last year is different than your awakened state this year, if you are practicing and really in your on your spiritual path. Always working with higher vibrations and evolving and expanding. Now, to stay in that awakened state is tune yourself every day. Now, you can do it just by visualization. You can do it just by sitting and basking in your highest vibration and asking the lower densities to join you there. Or you can do it with the sound. Okay, just literally tune yourself. And this doing it with sound is really awesome, because you can also hear in your voice different frequencies. You can hear if there's something denser in your voice, okay? And then you can say, oh, okay, well, I need to tune in a little bit more to the higher frequency of myself. You can hear all that. And so I do more training on this. I call it vocal reflection training. So if you would like to use your voice as a tool for transformation and learn to hear the frequencies in your own voice to know where you are each day and how to entrain yourself to a higher frequency, I can play in that field with you. So I do offer a 30-minute discovery call, free discovery call. If you're curious about the work, feel free. Just let me know in the comments. I'll let you know how to get in touch with me, and we can play in that field. with you and your different clouds, if you will. All right, so how do we stay in an awakened state? We commit to our awakening journey, and we tune ourselves every day to our highest consciousness, to our highest vibration. Remember that analogy, folks, and remember that visual. Going up in the plains through the storm clouds, and there the sun is, always shining, just like you. You are always shining, beautiful one, always shining. The clouds are just a temporary thing, and so they are not you. So another piece around staying in awakened state is that you have the broader perspective of what you really are. And that's what this channel is all about, remembering who you really are, remembering what you really are, remembering your greatness. So how do we stay in that awakened state and keep evolving our awakened state and expanding it? Is having the broader perspective that we are not our thoughts. We are not our emotions. We are not our trauma. We are not the things that cause us stress. We are that light. We are that sun that's always shining. So when you are having a day where you kind of do a dive down and you're having emotions, it's very easy to say the words, I'm mad, I'm sad. And I really invite you to say it in a different way so you change how you're programming yourself. I am feeling mad, or I am experiencing sadness. Another way to put it is, in the past, I've been sad. In the past, I've had trauma. So you put things in a way where you're not experiencing them anymore either. So a lot of times, we really hold our trauma like a badge of honor. Guys, that's not serving you, okay? It's not serving you at all. Feel the contrast from it and choose something different. But to tell the story of it so that you don't lock yourself in to a certain vibration with it, you can say, in the past, I had this trauma. In the past, I experienced this trauma. But what we want to do is keep the present moment as clear as we can vibrationally. So you are not a feeling, you are experiencing a feeling. You are not your past. In the past, you experienced it. So it's really important to start looking at how you tell your story, how you tell your past story, how you tell people how you're feeling, that you don't say it in a way that locks you into a boxed reality, that you really open yourself back up to the funnel of the universe, that you get to have vibrational choice. And this is how you stay in an awakened state. So beautiful people, let's recap here. You are always shining bright, always. Even when you wake up depressed, even when you wake up in a bad mood, you are always shining. So know that, and go above the clouds and feel that part of yourself. And then what you can do is entrain the clouds to the light. Okay, that's one way to do it. If you're someone that wants to really give attention a little bit more to the clouds, you can do that. Be in the clouds a little bit. Notice that the airplane has to be in the clouds, and it gets very interesting, right? For a while. And then you're like, I really want a different view, right? So be in the clouds of your vibration until you're like, I really want something different. I learned early on in my life that I wanted something different. I remember even being like 8 years old, being like, how can I feel better? I remember asking my father, sitting him down and asking about the universe and asking about God, and just wondering how, what else is possible here? Just I was always looking for a broader perspective. And to be honest, guys, I had a lot of clouds when I was a little girl. I was very moody and gloomy, and people would always ask me, like, are you okay? Why aren't you smiling? And now I know, I was picking up a lot. I was very, very empathic when I was a little girl, and I was picking up on a lot of density of the surroundings I was living in. So, I always went to bed really early. Like I always had a very clear sense on how to, you know, keep myself surviving. Okay, so I would go to bed early so I could kind of go back into my source energy, because the energies around me were pretty intense. I always ate pretty well. I always stayed pretty grounded, and until I knew what was really going on with me. Once I started studying Course in Miracles and yoga and all that kind of stuff, I started to realize, the energetic world. But as a kid, I didn't know about that world. I just knew that I needed to feel better. So I would navigate my life in kind of a strict way to feel better, until I realized that, oh, everything's energy, everything's a vibration. Oh, I can just ninja like shift things, and and I don't have to take that on, and I don't have to be that, and great. So staying in our awakened state really is about fine-tuning our vibration and getting a broader perspective, and doing this literally, like, I don't know, every 10-20 seconds. Like, I know that might sound overwhelming, but when you start to just live consciously, it just comes second nature. You tune into yourself, and you're like, oh yeah, like it's just, and before it became second nature to me, I would put sticky notes everywhere, everywhere. When you get sick of yourself enough, you start to be like, that's it. I know I have a lot of tools to use. There's a ton of stuff on YouTube. There's lots of tools. There's lots of techniques out there, guys. But guess what? They don't work unless you use them. So create for yourself 100% commitment to your light. And then from there, live consciously every moment and do these techniques every moment. Tune in when you're not feeling high vibed, right? And get back into your awakened state. All right, beautiful people, you can do this. You can do this. So have fun in your awakened state today. Just know that it gets better and better and better and better. Yoo-hoo! Thanks for being here on my High Vibe Tribe. I really appreciate you here. Namaste.